You think you know what happens when you hand your kids over to the world? Phones, social media, peers who don't care, schools that teach everything except what matters. But in 1825, a 9-year-old boy in northern Italy had a dream that showed him exactly where that road leads. Not metaphorically, literally. He saw the traps, he saw the names of sins written on them. He saw boys falling through a beautiful path straight into an abyss, and he spent the next 63 years of his life fighting to save them. His name was Giovanni Melchiorre Bosco. Most people call him Don Bosco. By the time he died in 1888, he had pulled hundreds of thousands of children back from the edge. But what he saw in those dreams was not just about his time, it was about every time. It was about what happens when you let anything except the gospel raise your children. In 1848, 30,000 young people in Turin cannot read or write. That is 40% of the youth population. Boys as young as 12 are locked in prisons. The conditions are unspeakable. Lice, disease, beatings, no light, no hope. A priest named Joseph Cafasso takes a newly ordained 26-year-old named Giovanni Bosco through those prisons. Bosco sees boys who should be playing. Instead, they are hollow, starving, covered in filth. Many will reoffend within months. The system does not care. It punishes. It does not prevent. Bosco walks out of that prison and knows his mission. These boys are not bad. They are abandoned. Someone has to reach them before they fall. Calls the boy over. His name is Bartolomeo Gorelli, 16 years old, orphan, illiterate, no work, no home. Bosco talks to him, asks him to come back next Sunday, bring friends. 3 days later, 9 boys show up. 3 months later, 25. By summer, 80. Pavers, stonecutters, masons, plasterers. They come from far away. They sleep under bridges. They work in death trap factories. Bosco teaches them catechism. He supervises games. He tells them stories. He does magic tricks, juggling, acrobatics. He learned them as a kid to get attention. Now he uses them to win souls. He does not scold. He does not hit. He loves them. He calls this gathering the Oratory, named after St. Francis de Sales, a place of prayer and organized recreation. But no one wants them. Neighbors complain about the noise. Rumors spread that Bosco is training revolutionaries. The group gets evicted. Again and again and again. This is the nucleus, the seed, the Oratory of St. Francis de Sales. From here, a worldwide movement will grow. But first, there is work to do. John Bosco, compiled by Father Giovanni Battista Lemoyne and first published in 1898, cross-referenced with Don Bosco's own writings, including The Preventive System in the Education of the Youth, published in 1877, and verified against archival records from the Silesian Historical Institute in Rome. These are not generic church histories. These are primary documents, eyewitness accounts, contracts signed by Bosco himself. Now back to the information. Bosco says they will hang a basket from the ceiling if they have to. The boy laughs, eats soup, stays. He is Bosco's first orphan. More come. 36 boys in 1852, 115 in 1854, 470 in 1860, 600 in 1861, 800 at the peak. Where do they all fit? Bosco buys the house next to the shed, then another. He converts a corner of Margarita's kitchen into a cobbler shop. The hallway becomes a carpenter shop. The teachers? Bosco himself and 2 hired men, banging hammers everywhere, no quiet. But this is the birth of the Don Bosco Trade School. Today it is a global network of professional training centers in over 130 countries. Traditionalist clergy accuse him of stealing parishioners. Nationalist politicians see his hundreds of young men as a revolutionary recruiting ground. The Marquis de Cavour, the chief of police in Turin, regards the open-air catechisms as political subversion. He is suspicious of Bosco's support for the papacy. Bosco is interrogated multiple times. No charges stick. Closure is prevented by orders from the king. King Victor Emmanuel II says Bosco is not to be disturbed. But attempts on Bosco's life happen anyway. Near stabbing, bludgeoning, a shooting. Early biographers say it is the Waldensians, Protestants who oppose Catholic clergy. Bosco survives. He keeps working. These contracts are revolutionary. Employers customarily beat the boys, make them servants, scullery boys, work them in trades they did not sign up for. Bosco's contracts forbid this. Corrections must be verbal only. Boys work only in their acknowledged trade. They get rest on feast days, an annual holiday. Some contracts are on stamped paper, 40 cents. Others are dated November 1851, February 8, 1852. They are in the archives of the Silesian congregation. Physical proof. But even with these protections, life for apprentices remains brutal. Clad in a white flowing mantle, face radiating light. The man says, "You will have to win these friends of yours, not with blows, but with gentleness and kindness. Show them that sin is ugly and virtue beautiful." A lady appears, majestic, bedecked with stars. She takes his hand and says, "Look, the children vanish. Wild animals replace them. Goats, dogs, cats, bears." She says, "This is your field. Make yourself humble, steadfast, and strong. The animals turn into lambs, gentle, bleating a welcome. She places her hand on his head, says, "In due time, everything will be clear to you." A boy trying to win souls with magic tricks and kindness. Bosco follows. They walk down a wide, comfortable road, flanked by banks of roses and other flowers. Beautiful, easy. The road slopes downward, imperceptibly. Behind Bosco, the oratory boys. Very many others he does not know. Then boys start falling, dragged by an unseen force toward a frightful drop, a slope, a furnace. Bosco asks, "What makes these boys fall?" The guide says, "Take a closer look." Bosco looks. Traps everywhere. Some close to the ground, others at eye level, all well concealed, fine as spiders' webs, hardly visible, flimsy, harmless looking. But every boy they snare falls to the ground. Some get trapped by the head, others by the neck, hand, arms, legs, sides, pulled down instantly. Bosco picks up one of the traps, tugs, feels resistance, pulls harder. Instead of drawing the thread closer, he is being pulled down himself. He follows the thread to the mouth of a frightful cave. He halts, unwilling to venture in, pulls again. Out comes a disgusting monster. A demon. The creature grips all the traps with his fingernails, pulls frantically whenever a boy gets caught, dragging him to hell. He steps back to see which traps catch the most boys. 3 are the most dangerous: impurity, disobedience, pride. These 3 are linked together, but human respect is the worst. The unwillingness to do what is right for fear of what others will think, wanting the respect of others before all else. This trap drags boys faster than any other. Bosco also sees knives among the traps. A providential hand put them there, for cutting oneself free. The bigger knives symbolize meditation, for use against pride. Others symbolize spiritual reading. Smaller ones, confession, communion, devotion to the Blessed Virgin, recourse to the saints. But many boys ignore the knives. They run headlong toward the abyss. The last gateway opens into a vast, grim courtyard. A large, forbidding entrance at the far end. A boy comes running, terrified, looking backward. Crashes against a bronze portal. The portal springs open with a roar. 1,000 inner portals open with a deafening clamor. Bosco sees far into the distance, something like furnace jaws sprouting fiery balls. The boy hurtles into it. Bosco pulls back in horror, wants to rush back to warn the boys. The guide insists, "Come, you will learn much." Bosco thinks, before one is condemned to hell, he must be judged, and I have not been judged yet. So he enters. They pass through the narrow corridor, enter a vast courtyard. Inscriptions everywhere. The wicked will go to the everlasting fire. He will give fire to their flesh so that they burn eternally. They will be tormented day and night forever and ever. There's no order here, but eternal horror dwells. The smoke of their torment goes up forever and ever. Never confessed it. Made a bad confession. Did not tell everything. Another veil. Theft. Boys who stole food from the pantry, broke into the prefect's office, rummaged in companions' trunks, stole stationery and books, stole clothes, linen, blankets from the oratory wardrobe to send home to their families. Intentional damages not repaired, objects borrowed but not returned, money not handed over to the superior. Another veil, radix omnium malorum, the root of all evils, disobedience, the sin that led Adam and Eve to be driven from paradise. The guide says, disobedience is the root of all evil. But the sensation when Bosco's hand touches it is utterly excruciating. He leaps back with a scream, finds himself sitting up in bed. His hand is stinging. He keeps rubbing it. When he gets up in the morning, his hand is swollen. Later, the skin of his palm peels off. Bosco says, "I have tried not to frighten you very much, and so I have not described these things in all their horror as I saw them. We know that our Lord always portrayed hell in symbols because, had he described it as it really is, we would not have understood him. Then and there, your warning might impress them, but soon they will forget it, saying, 'It was just a dream,' and they will do worse than before. Others, realizing they have been unmasked, will receive the sacraments, but this will be neither spontaneous nor meritorious. Others will go to confession because of a momentary fear of hell, but will still be attached to sin. The guide says, pray and make sacrifices. Let the boys listen to your admonitions and teachings, and let them consult their consciences. Preventive and repressive. The repressive system makes the law known, watches for transgressors, inflicts punishment. The superior's words are severe, threatening, rarely appears except to punish, easy, less troublesome, suitable for the army, for adults, not for children. Give advice and correction kindly. This places students in the impossibility of committing faults, based entirely on reason, religion, and kindness, excludes violent punishment, tries to do without even the slightest chastisement. Religion, loving-kindness, 3 pillars, named after Francis de Sales because he admired the gentle holiness of this great saint. He organizes 15 seminarians and 1 teenage boy into a group. Their purpose? carry on his charitable work, help boys with faith formation, keep them out of trouble. Pope Pius IX approves the society in 1873. The growth is explosive. By 1863, 39 priests. By 1888, 768. During Bosco's life, the Salesians are sent to 38 houses in Europe, 26 in the New World, especially South America. At the time of Bosco's death, 250 homes for boys contain 130,000 children. Of these, over 6,000 become priests, not boys saved from the streets. Priests, men who dedicate their lives to God. This is not just rescue, this is transformation. Bosco also founds, with Maria Domenica Mazzarello, the Institute of the Daughters of Mary Help of Christians, the Salesian Sisters, dedicated to the care and education of poor girls. In 1876, with the help of many lay people, he founds the Association of Salesian Cooperators, laypersons with the same educational mission to the poor. Today, the Salesian Order is the second largest religious order in the world, present in about 130 countries. About 28,000 members. They labor for poor and abandoned young people on all 6 continents. This is the legacy of one man who saw a dream at age 9 and never forgot it. In 1858, when he met with the future saint, he learned of the dreams Bosco had been having since age 9, dreams that revealed God's will for his life. Pius IX made a request. Write down these dreams and everything else you have told me, minutely and in their natural sense. The Pope saw Bosco's dreams as a legacy, for those Bosco worked with, for those he ministered to. But despite scripture evidence and church tradition respecting dreams, Bosco encountered skepticism. Even his own family laughed at him. His grandmother said, "You must not pay attention to dreams." But the Pope knew better. On February 1, 1865, Bosco announces that one of the boys will die soon. He knows the boy through the dream the night before. On March 16, 1865, Anthony Ferraris passes away after receiving the last sacraments. John Bosco, who helps Anthony and his mother during the boy's last hour, confirms the story by a formal oath. He concludes, "Don Bosco told us many other dreams concerning oratory boys' deaths. We believed them to be true prophecies. We still do, because unfailingly they came true. During the 7 years I lived at the oratory, not a boy died without Don Bosco predicting his death. We were also convinced that whoever died there under his care and assistance surely went to heaven. In yet another dream, boys run down a road, get caught in traps, pulled into hell, but God leaves implements next to the traps. 2 swords, symbolizing devotion to the Blessed Sacrament through frequent Holy Communion, and devotion to the Blessed Virgin, a hammer symbolizing confession, knives symbolizing devotions to Saint Joseph and various saints. The message is consistent: frequent confession, frequent communion, devotion to Mary. These are the tools that save souls. Bosco tries vigorously to keep them from eating the meat. They just keep eating. He questions the stranger, "Why do they keep eating the meat even though it will kill them?" The stranger replies, "Because the sensual man does not perceive the things that are of God." Bosco pleads, "There must be some way to save them." The stranger says there is, by anvil and hammer. Bosco puts the boys on an anvil, hits them with a hammer. Most are restored to life and recovered. The stranger explains that the anvil and hammer are symbols. The anvil is Holy Communion. The hammer is confession, by human respect, by the desire for acceptance. And it kills them, spiritually, sometimes physically. The only cure is the sacraments, confession and communion. These are not optional. They are the difference between life and death. Surrounding it, a formidable array of enemy ships in battle formation. Prows fitted with sharp, spear-like beaks capable of breaking through any defense, heavily armed with cannons, incendiary bombs, firearms, even books, all heading toward the stately ship, trying to close in, ram it, set it afire, cripple it. Winds and waves are with the enemy. The stately vessel is shielded by a flotilla escort. But in the midst of this endless sea, 2 solid columns soar high into the sky, a short distance apart. One is surmounted by a statue of the Immaculate Virgin. At its base, an inscription, "Help of Christians." The other column bears a host of great size, proportionate to the ship. Below, salvation of the faithful. The Pope is at the helm of the flagship, trying to navigate through fierce attacks. He is struck, falls, gravely wounded. Another Pope takes his place. The enemy fleet moves in. But the new Pope maneuvers the ship between the 2 columns, anchors it there with a light chain from the bow to the column of the host, a heavier chain from the stern to the column of the Virgin. Instantly, the enemy fleet is thrown into confusion. Ships collide. Some sink. Others flee. The church is safe. Bosco explains, "Only 2 things can save us in such a grave hour: devotion to Mary and frequent communion." Bosco is not talking about a theoretical danger. He is talking about a real abyss, real traps, real demons pulling the cords. And the world is setting those traps everywhere. Social media, pornography, peer pressure, materialism, relativism, atheism, hedonism. Every single one of these is a trap with a name on it: pride, disobedience, impurity, sloth, envy, and human respect. The deadliest of all, the fear of being different, the fear of being mocked, the fear of standing out. This trap drags more souls to hell than almost any other because it makes children compromise, makes them eat the poison even when they know it will kill them, because everyone else is eating it, because it looks delicious. You converse with them, you love them, you win their hearts with gentleness and kindness. You teach them that sin is ugly and virtue is beautiful. You give them the tools to cut themselves free. Meditation, spiritual reading, confession, communion, devotion to Mary, devotion to the saints. These are not optional extras. These are the knives next to the traps. Not to the world, not to schools that do not teach the faith, not to peers who lead them astray, not to entertainment that poisons their minds, not to technology that enslaves their attention. You are the first educator. You are the loving father or mother. You must converse with them. You must take the lead in every movement. You must give advice and correction in a kindly way. You must place them in the impossibility of committing faults, not by locking them away, but by forming them, by loving them, by being present. I would rather have a poor peasant for my son than a negligent priest. Later, when Bosco started his work, Margarita helped him, cooked for the boys, cleaned, found work for them, found lodgings. She became known as Mama Margarita. She did not have much, but she gave everything. In 2006, she was declared venerable by the church, a title given to those on the path to sainthood. Her example is clear. Holiness is not about having resources. It is about giving everything you have for the sake of souls, but they do not change. Bosco saw this in his dreams, boys he knew, boys he loved, falling into the abyss, and it broke his heart, but it also drove him, because he knew there was still time. As long as they were alive, there was still time, and he would do everything in his power to save them. On January 31, he dies in the early hours of the morning. His funeral is attended by thousands. The call for his canonization is immediate. Pope Pius XI, who knew Bosco personally, pushes the cause forward. On June 2, 1929, Bosco is beatified. On Easter Sunday, April 1, 1934, he is canonized, given the title Father and Teacher of Youth. In 1949, Pope Pius XII proclaims him patron saint of Catholic publishers. How many children have been educated in the Salesian system? Millions, tens of millions. All because one boy at age 9 listened to a lady who told him, "Make yourself humble, steadfast, and strong." The rooms where orphans slept, the workshop where boys learned trades. And he says this: Don Bosco was a man completely given to God and completely given to youth. He understood that the secret of education is the secret of love. He understood that to form a man, you must love him, not in the abstract, not from a distance, but concretely, personally, daily. Paul VI understood what Bosco knew. Formation is not information. It is transformation, and transformation requires presence, requires sacrifice, requires love. He used them, but he used them for the gospel. He met boys where they were, then he led them to where they needed to be. This is the model. Not isolation, not fear, but engagement, with a purpose, with a goal, with the gospel. Human nature does not change. The need for love does not change. The reality of sin does not change. The power of the sacraments does not change. The danger of the world does not change. Pornography, gender confusion, loss of faith, loss of hope. This is not an accident. This is the trap. Children are eating the poison, saying, "It is delicious." Because the sensual man does not perceive the things that are of God. You make the laws and regulations known. You watch carefully. You converse with them. You take the lead in every movement. You give advice and correction in a kindly way. You love them. You win their hearts with gentleness and kindness. You show them that sin is ugly and virtue is beautiful. And you give them the tools: meditation, spiritual reading, confession, communion, devotion to Mary, devotion to the saints. You place them in the impossibility of committing faults, not by fear, but by formation, not by punishment, but by prevention, not by distance, but by presence. The deaf heard, the lame walked. Once a dead boy was raised to life. He had the gift of prophecy. He predicted deaths. He read hearts. He saw the future. But these gifts were not for show. They were for souls. They were to convince people that God is real, that heaven is real, that hell is real, that the sacraments have power, that the Blessed Virgin intercedes, that holiness is possible. In the archives at Valdaco, there is still evidence of Bosco's work: contracts signed in his hand, letters he wrote, boys he saved, photographs of the oratory. The Shed Chapel can still be seen today, the tiny nucleus of a worldwide organization that began in poverty with Our Lady's blessing. And if you go there, if you stand in that chapel, you can feel it: the presence, the sacrifice, the love. This is not ancient history. This is a living legacy. Because the Salesians still do this work in 130 countries, 28,000 members, millions of children educated, millions of souls saved, all because one boy listened to a dream. In January 2025, Catholic World Report published a comprehensive piece on Bosco's methods. These are not old stories being forgotten. These are living teachings being rediscovered. Because people are desperate. Parents are desperate. They see their children falling. They see the traps. They see the abyss. And they want answers. Bosco has the answers. He always had them. The world just does not want to listen. Bosco built the Basilica of Mary Help of Christians in Turin. When he planned it, he called an architect to start the excavations. He handed the man 8 cents, said, "Here is your first payment. Mary will build her own basilica." The architect was astonished, but Bosco was serious. He lived in personal poverty, ate coarse food, wore poor garments, often borrowed. But he spent millions for his boys, opened large schools, built basilicas, financed mission expeditions. His mother told him, "When you become a priest, if ever you become rich, I shall never enter your house." He never became rich. He died poor. But he built an empire of charity, an empire of souls, an empire that still stands today. Are you going to hand them over to screens, to peers, to schools that teach everything except what matters? Are you going to watch them walk down that beautiful flower-lined road that slopes imperceptibly toward the abyss? Or are you going to do what Bosco did? Are you going to be present? Are you going to love them? Are you going to teach them? Are you going to give them the tools to cut themselves free? Are you going to fight for their souls? Because here is what Bosco saw. He saw that the world is full of traps. He saw that demons are real and they are pulling the cords. He saw that hell is real and it is waiting. He saw that children are precious. He saw that they are worth everything. He saw that love works. He saw that the gospel works. He saw that the sacraments work. He saw that Mary intercedes. He saw that saints help. He saw that God never abandons those who seek him. And he saw that parents are the first line of defense. Not the last, the first. The boys who went from cursing in the streets to serving at the altar. From stealing to praying, from despair to hope. He talks about Dominic Savio, a pious teenager from a poor family who entered Bosco's school hoping to become a Salesian priest. Savio died too young, only 15 years old in 1857. But he was an inspiration to other boys through his love of prayer, devotion to the Eucharist, cheerfulness, hard work, and a very human joy in playing with his friends. Savio was canonized in 1954, a boy saint formed by Bosco. Proof that holiness is not for the elite. It is for everyone, even for children. This is not complicated. This is not for monks in monasteries. This is for mothers cooking dinner, for fathers going to work, for children doing homework, for teenagers resisting temptation, for everyone. Holiness is ordinary, but it requires grace. And grace comes through the sacraments, through prayer, through the intercession of Mary, through the help of the saints. In the dream of 1868, Bosco touches the outer wall of hell, just the outer wall. 1,000 walls encompass hell. Each 1,000 measures thick. Each measure 1,000 miles, millions and millions of miles from hell's real fire. But even the outer wall causes excruciating pain. His hand swells, the skin peels off, days later, from a dream. Bosco says, "I've tried not to frighten you very much. I have not described these things in all their horror as I saw them. We know that our Lord always portrayed hell in symbols because, had he described it as it really is, we would not have understood him. Think about that. The outer wall of hell, millions of miles from the real fire, causes pain so intense that it leaves physical marks on a man in a dream. What is the real fire like? Bosco does not say. He cannot say. No mortal can comprehend these things. The Lord knows them, and he reveals them to whomever he wills. But the message is clear. Hell is real. Hell is horrible. Hell is eternal. And children are walking toward it every single day, because no one is teaching them, because no one is preventing them, because parents are letting the world raise their children instead of the gospel. That is his legacy. Not the schools, not the buildings, not the order, the souls. The children pulled back from the edge, the boys who became priests, the girls who became nuns, the families transformed, the cities changed, the world made better, one soul at a time, one conversation at a time, one act of love at a time. This is the preventive system. This is the gospel lived. This is what happens when you refuse to let the world raise your children. You do it yourself, with reason, with religion, with loving kindness, with the sacraments, with prayer, with sacrifice, with presence, with love, and you trust that God will bless your work, just like he blessed Bosco's. Every school, every orphan, every priest, every soul, all through Mary, all for the glory of God, all because a 9-year-old boy listened to a lady in a dream and never forgot what she told him. Make yourself humble, steadfast, and strong. In due time, everything will be clear. Everything is clear now.